When the world first cataloged 3I Atlas in July 2025, it barely made a headline. It appeared to be just another interstellar traveler, a piece of cosmic flotsam drifting through the void between stars. It was only the third object of its kind ever recorded, and by all conventional appearances, it was nothing more than a silent visitor on a one-way trajectory through our solar system. But everything changed when the James Webb Space Telescope, humanity's most powerful eye on the cosmos, locked onto it. What Webb saw shattered our assumptions. This was no icy rock merely reflecting the sun. Deep within 3 Atlas, something was glowing. It wasn't chaotic or random. It was rhythmic, pulsing like a heartbeat. As the days passed, a strange curiosity evolved into something deeply disturbing. The brightness levels defied prediction, soaring as the object began emitting thermal energy from its core rather than its sunlit surface. Then came the signals, radio pulses repeating with human-like precision. And finally, the impossible happened, a course change. The object veered intentionally. This was not a rock on a passive path. This was an object behaving with awareness. Something is inside 3 Atlas, and the James Webb Telescope may have just confirmed that it is alive. The thermal anomaly. Initially, it was dismissed as a statistical outlier, just a bright dot in the infrared feed. But as the team scrutinized data from the NIR SPEC instrument, one anomaly stood out. 3 Atlas did not behave like space debris. Typical visitors spin, eject material, and reflect light unevenly. 3 Atlas showed no such variability. Its brightness remained eerily constant, emitting a focused glow from its center like a miniature furnace. Every 4 hours, the heat surged and faded in a perfectly timed cycle, resembling a biological rhythm. The pattern was too precise for geology. It ignored rotation, solar wind, or distance from the sun. It came from deep inside. Scientists labeled it a thermal anomaly, but off the record, whispers of another word began to circulate: heartbeat. It resonated like an engine breathing in deep space. One terrifying question emerged for those studying the data. What kind of object powers itself in the dark? The signal. As the thermal data became undeniable, radio astronomers from South Africa to California trained their receivers on the object. For days, there was nothing. Then, the Allen Telescope array broke the silence. They detected a faint, narrowband signal, a consistent pulse emerging every 4 hours, perfectly synchronized with the thermal surges. Skepticism reigned at first. Was it local interference? An echo? But as nights turned into weeks, the signal held steady. It was adaptive, showing minute variations aligned with solar wind fluctuations. Fourier analysis revealed a stable carrier wave, unlike anything naturally occurring in the cosmos. It was as if something aboard 3 Atlas was trying to broadcast. When teams attempted to match the signal to pulsars or background radiation, every test came back negative. In a final attempt, we sent a simple message, a series of prime numbers and elemental constants. 72 hours later, a reply arrived. It was faint and distorted, but it was there, and it was on time to the second. Something had heard us, and something had answered. The maneuver. On August 18th, the situation escalated. Webb captured an explosive flare from 3 Atlas, a surge that increased its brightness by over 40% in under an hour. No comet behaves this way. But what followed was even more shocking. A trajectory recalibration revealed a subtle, undeniable course correction. 3 Atlas was no longer drifting, it was steering. The shift aligned it more precisely with the inner planets and the ecliptic plane. Simulations led by the European Space Agency tried to attribute this to outgassing, but the math failed. The thrust required was far beyond natural jetting. The flare and the turn occurred simultaneously, as if one triggered the other. No asteroid or comet has ever altered its own path with such purpose. If something aboard was responding to our presence, this was no longer an observation. It was an encounter, and the pilot had just made its first move. The composition. Attention turned to composition. The team at Johns Hopkins dissected every wavelength, and what they found deepened the mystery tenfold. While common elements like water, ice, and carbon were present, they were overlaid by absorption lines never recorded in nature. There were indications of metallic alloys and rare earth elements used in advanced manufacturing, alongside hints of quantum materials previously only theorized in physics papers. These were not random cosmic compounds. They were engineered at a molecular level to behave in ways natural materials cannot. Some reflected infrared light in ways that mimicked stealth metamaterials. In short, 3 Atlas wasn't just active. It was constructed with a precision beyond humanity's capabilities. If the materials are synthetic and the signals are deliberate, the question is not what 3 Atlas is, but who built it and why is it here? The voice. Researchers at Caltech's Deep Space Lab began listening to the object through passive signal mapping. They discovered that the object's entire mass was acting as a resonant chamber. A low-frequency hum reverberated across the microwave spectrum, echoing back to Earth with consistent delays. When this signal was slowed down and layered over a sonogram of human speech, the results were chilling. It produced patterns eerily similar to language, structured and intelligible. It was as if something inside was mimicking communication or perhaps learning to speak. Some believe the object is aligning itself to the vibrational logic of human transmission. Others fear a darker alternative, that what we hear is not the object itself, but something inside stirring, waking, and preparing to emerge. The internal structure. New infrared imaging revealed a moving structure deep within the heat map. It was a dense, spiral shape rotating with unnatural consistency. This was not shifting debris. It was autonomous, rotating on a steady axis even as the object tumbled. The spiral's dimensions followed a perfect golden ratio, recursively at 3 different scales. In nature, we see this in DNA and galaxies, but never in cold space rocks. It is a fractal fingerprint of organic intelligence. If a golden spiral is spinning at the heart of this thing, it isn't just alive, it may be aware. The eye opens. Less than a week later, high-contrast imaging captured something unprecedented. A rectangular, smooth panel on the object's surface retracted, revealing a dark cavity. No natural object displays mechanical motion. The retraction was symmetrical and permanent. Inside, scans detected a stable, cold space, like a cradle or a chamber. Whatever this hatch was, it had opened toward Earth. As the object traveled, that opening remained locked on our planet like a watching eye. Inside that cavity, a second pulse began to emerge, slower, stronger, different in tone. A second heartbeat. Something else had awakened. The hybrid life. NASA's Ames Research Center then made a discovery that reframed the entire event. Trace compounds in the emissions matched terrestrial biopolymers, synthetic analogs of organic tissue. These molecules responded to solar radiation by altering their shape, suggesting they were programmable, like living circuits. 3 Atlas blurs the line between biology and engineering completely. It is neither machine nor life as we define it. It is a vessel, a seed, or a being encoded in form. And if that message is waking up, the question is, what happens when it gets out? The return. The most disturbing revelation came from independent physicists analyzing the trajectory. They noticed that the object's path had been recorded before, not by instruments, but by ancient geological formations on Mars, Europa, and Earth. Megastructures like the pyramids and the Nazca lines showed mathematical alignments pointing to the precise vector 3 Atlas now follows. This suggests the object isn't just visiting, it is returning. Scientists are calling it gravitational memory. If it has been here before, what happened the last time? The silence and the echo. In a last-ditch experiment, scientists used the chime array to broadcast a silence pulse designed to detect vacuum responses. For 6.3 seconds, 3 Atlas absorbed everything, returning pure silence. On the 7th second, it emitted a single return pulse that exactly matched the wow signal from 1977. The implications were devastating. Either the object captured that signal across time, or was the original source. What we thought was a cold traveler might be a ghost replaying its own message. The intelligence. An unofficial task force of linguists and astrophysicists found that the object's pulses followed a recursive universal grammar, a template for intelligence itself. The pattern showed signs of self-reference. It wasn't just communicating, it was talking about itself. 3 Atlas may contain a non-human consciousness embedded in geometry and resonance. It seems aware of us, not because we saw it, but because we were already factored into its design. It's as if its journey was always meant to trigger recognition, not from us, but from within itself. The reality distortion. Then came the final twist. Observatories reported that fixed stars near the object appeared to shift position. The object was subtly bending space-time around itself, not through mass, but through a localized manipulation of reality. It was reshaping the sky as a message. The face in the data. A data sculptor visualizing the internal resonance noticed a recurring geometry in the harmonic data. A face. Symmetrical, elongated, and deeply alien. It wasn't pareidolia. The data encoded this pattern deliberately. The message had shifted from mathematical to visual. It was an emotional signal, a form of identity staring back at us. The conclusion: we have searched the sky for centuries, dreaming of visitors. But we never imagined that something might already be watching, waiting for us to look close enough. 3i Atlas didn't just drift here. It arrived with rhythm, memory, and purpose. It pulsed like a heart and answered like a mind. As it moves silently past Mars, glowing and signaling, we are left with the terrifying truth: we have already been noticed. And once you're noticed, you can never go back to being alone. If this sent chills down your spine, you aren't the only one. What if the greatest discovery in history didn't come from a signal we sent, but from a silent object already on its way home? Subscribe for more breaking revelations. Let us know in the comments. Do you believe 3i Atlas is alive? Or is it something worse? Something built and then abandoned? In a final, desperate attempt to understand the nature of the object, the James Webb team concentrated every available instrument on a specific zone near the spiral core. They were looking for heat or a signal, but what they found defied the laws of physics. It was a region where light simply vanished. It wasn't being absorbed, it was being contained. The area functioned as a light trap, or perhaps a data vault. When they mapped the gravitational field surrounding this void, the results were even more staggering. The mass density suggested that the interior of the object was vastly larger than its physical exterior allowed, a phenomenon akin to a TARDIS effect, where internal space exceeds external boundaries. If this data holds true, 3i Atlas could contain an archive not of matter, but of memory. It may be a museum, a record, or a cosmic seed bank of civilizations encoded in light and time, waiting to be awakened. But this archive is sealed by a geometry that no human code has been able to crack. And perhaps it was never meant to be opened, unless we are the key. The final question. For centuries, we have stared into the abyss, sending signals and building telescopes, hoping to answer one question. Are we alone? We dreamed of visitors, but we never imagined that something might already be here, watching, waiting for us to simply look closely enough. 3i Atlas didn't wander into our system by accident. It arrived with a rhythm, a memory, and a specific purpose. It pulses like a living heart and answers like a conscious mind. It shifted its course to meet us as if it knew exactly who we were. As it moves silently past Mars, glowing from within and broadcasting signals we are only beginning to grasp, the question is no longer, what is it? The question is, what does it want? Is it a probe? A messenger? A relic? Or is it something else entirely? Something that redefines our understanding of life itself? Maybe 3i Atlas wasn't meant to reach Earth. Maybe Earth was always meant to reach it. Now that we have seen it, recognized it, and touched it with our sensors, a terrifying truth remains: we have been noticed. And once you are noticed, you can never go back to the solitude of the dark. If this story sent chills down your spine, you are not alone. What if the most significant discovery in human history isn't a signal we receive, but a silent traveler that has finally come home? Subscribe for more breaking revelations as this story unfolds. Let us know in the comments. Do you believe 3i Atlas is alive, or is it something worse, something built and then abandoned? I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.